Yeah. Thanks for joining, man.
No,
Really
you're
appreciate
more than
it.
welcome, guys, and
Always a pleasure.
great to see you.
And CEO to CEO, so a lot of questions. But
I have many.
my biggest question, though,
Okay.
is that we used to work together at Hanwha, at least kind of, was aerospace and started aviation. So I've always wondered, I have my idea, you never told me, but I always wondered what sparked the conversation for you to join Hanwha and start that venture with Hanwha Aviation.
So that conversation was actually through a mutual friend there that was in private equity at Fortress that went to school and served in the, I understand, served in the military with the vice chairman of Hanwha, and the mutual acquaintance at Fortress left Fortress but had discussions around what we did at FTI and at Fortress, and so that started the whole conversation. And Hanwha was looking a way to bridge between the OEM manufacturing side, the Hanwha Aerospace, and what we had done at FTI on the commercial engine assays. So that's what started the conversation. And as you know, went through an extensive strategy, business plan, the whole pitch deck that we ended up creating, and pitched the business in February of 24, and we launched it in May.
Well, it's just incredible. And how many engines do you have in the portfolio?
We're at 54 now.
Wow. So rapid growth.
Rapid growth. We've really been only trading for about, call it 18 months, and it's maybe 20 months really doing business. In that time frame, opened, started from scratch, negotiating photocopiers and office leases, building the team, putting an office, 4 offices on 3 different continents, and building the portfolio all in parallel, acquiring an engine MRO certificate, and launching that business as well. So it's been a lot of work, but I think I'm really proud of the team and what we've achieved in such a short period of time.
And with that rapid growth, what's been the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is just managing the different cultures and the expectations, working with a group that really didn't have a lot of background and knowledge in our space, and they don't understand our industry. And so while pitching the business, growing the business, I've spent probably 80% of my time educating on the business and what we do. So that's been the number one challenge, communication, and managing the cultural differences.
Is there something you would change if you going back?
Going back, many things. No, you learn from your mistakes, as they say. I don't think there's anything that stands out that I would change. I wish, I think there's some things that I would ask them to change, but it's no. Hey, we're all on the same team. Everyone's doing their best. At the end of the day, there are people who are accountable to the shareholder, right to the top in Hanwha Group, and everyone's trying to make the best decisions for the business and ensure that we're on the right path strategy-wise.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what about them understanding, what Hanwha Aviation has done, relatively young company, rapid growth. We're going through our growth period as Hanwha Aeras Aviation. What do you think the synergies would be here between an Aeras company and a Hanwha Aviation?
Well, look, I mean, we've known Jeff for many a year now, and I think I first met Jeff close to sort of 13, 14 years ago, I think now.
Before you started
there, yeah, before us, yeah.
And you guys have done impressive things.
Yeah, and I think, look, there's a number of differences between the organizations, from, we're a small business. We've got very different types of capital available to us. So you have to work with what you got. But I think it's commendable to be able to have these conversations with someone who we know personally, who has been at not just Hanwha, but his previous companies, and take the positives out of the things that he's done, what he's currently now doing at Hanwha. And we can look at the structures and the business plan and see how we can adopt some of those strategies into what we're currently doing as well at the same time.
Yeah, I really respect what you guys have done. Also, in a relatively short period of time.
We're a young company,
remember, like when you started Aeras Aviation, you are operating, I would say, in a more competitive space than I am for the most part. And it's challenging. And the one thing with Hanwha is obviously we have very deep pockets. You've really self-funded the business for the most part, and in a competitive environment, created the relationships. So I highly respect you guys.
Look, I think it's and look, when I look at it, we've got different business models. Where we are, and we're trying to grow into. And I think one of our focuses this year is growing into a leasing business. That's one of the models that we're trying to encourage and trying to adopt. It's not an easy business. We're all competing for the same assets. It's a tough space. And ultimately, where are you bidding in those assets? I mean, if we are competing against certain entities who have got very deep pockets, they've got to spend their money. Are we going to be bidding aggressively, or are we going to go, okay, hold on, can we be in a situation where we just let the asset go, and move on? Look to the next asset. How many assets can we realistically win? So it's I think there's space for everyone, depending on where you're at.
There is, but I think the big difference for you, and also same exists for me, is that in the leasing space, we are competing against. There's a lot of tourist capital, and institutional capital that's flowed into engine leasing. I would suggest that there are some very poor investment decisions being made, but there's a misalignment in between some asset managers and the capital, where the capital wants them to deploy. They deploy fast because they're clipping the fees, but they're actually not, at the end of the day, they're not accountable for those investments. They're not going to be the ones left holding the bag. So when you take a look at some of the deals that are being done, the assumptions that are being done being made in their modeling around residual values, lease rates, for example, if you put in your model today that a 7B is going to have a residual value with no LLP life remaining, a run-out engine at $4 million 4 years from now, I will highly suggest that you're going to end up underwater on that deal.
Yeah.
And if you're in that same model, you're putting in that you expect 100,000 month lease rental for the engine over the next 48 months, you're also highly mistaken. But you can take a model and reverse engineer it to generate a positive return.
Yeah.
And unless that capital is educated on it, they don't see it. They look, we're going to get a 15% on lever. But actually, the assumptions in the model are way off. But, at the end of the day, some of those people making those decisions are clipping fees, and there's no downside for them.
I mean, look, just going back to our acquisition portfolio, I mean, you're doing a lot of the asset modeling along with the rest of the team. And, what are we winning for sensible bidding? You don't win a lot.
Yeah, no.
So it's a tough space.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Do you see, especially on the CFM market, do you see the asset residual value or core value inflated, that other asset managers are
what people are assuming? There's big numbers being paid for engines that just don't make sense. I heard of like a tech insertion 7B, have $4.5 million with no LLP. Like,
see, that's bananas. And you can't justify that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
hey, let those guys do the deals, and I'll pick up the pieces when they fall on their butts, right?
How do you see the fuel prices affecting your business right now?
Everyone's talking fuel price. That's not going to be the issue. Fuel supply and availability is going to be the problem. And I strongly believe, and I've been saying for the past year, that this market is going to normalize, needs to have a correction. The current situation in Iran and the Middle East will be the catalyst for a correction in our market. And I think that's going to drive opportunity. If you have dry powder, be patient for the next 6 months. There's going to be blood in the water. I strongly believe that. Fuel prices are just going to accelerate the process with some of these airlines. For example, here in Florida, you have Spirit. You know, Spirit was in chapter 22, essentially second 11, and they were right on the path to exiting that, and now they're almost assured to be in the liquidation in the next couple of days. There was no talk of JetBlue 7 or 8 weeks ago. Now there's serious talk about the liquidity within JetBlue and whether they will file a Chapter 11. So there's going to be, I predict that the ACMI carriers are going to be really hurting this summer. You've got the situation with Avia Solutions Group. There's some challenges there, and lessors are taking aircraft back. Combined now with the whole Middle East situation and Spirit, there's going to be assets out there. And this, you know, in the aviation industry, we all invest a lot of money into these high-tech assets. At the end of the day, this is a very archaic industry with a very simple.
The airlines at the moment now, they're reducing their routes as an immediate response.
Cut 10% of their flying next month, 2,000 flights.
Is that because of fuel shortage?
Fuel shortage and supply. Because now you're looking at airlines. Hey, are you going to be an airline that wants to fly transatlantic to Europe and not be able to get gas on the other side, right? So
yeah, it's a real concern. Yeah.
Africa's running out of fuel.
This is a tough one.
Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Philippines, they've all declared jet fuel emergencies. Korea, Japan, same thing. Singapore Airlines is buying all the jet fuel they can get their hands on. They're paying a premium for it. There's this dynamic that this storm is well on its way to brewing, and it's not what everyone thinks. Oh, the Strait of Hormuz opens tomorrow, all this goes away. This goes in the next year. I'm telling you, and that's if the problem's fixed today.
Totally agree.
It's gonna be
it's not going to affect us at least a year. Yeah. So it's a concerning time. You know, ticket prices have gone through the roof. You know, we're paying at least a 30% premium on. I mean, we look at our staff travel as well. You know, you think to yourself, you know, a ticket that once was, you know, prior to the COVID pandemic, was for a business class ticket from London to Dubai, for example, was, I don't know, $2,000. That's now $4,500, and now you're looking at a ticket which might cost you $6,000.
Miami, London, you can't buy a ticket business class for under 10. Almost impossible.
It's a tough time.
So there's going to be a ripple effect. You know, corporations, I know some of the big OEMs are now trimming all their staff travel. There's one OEM here at the show that canceled half their staff coming to the show. A big OEM, over 180 people were told at the last minute, do not travel because of they're trying to cut back. So everyone's buckling up.
Yeah, I heard that happening with the Asian airline personnel as well.
Yeah.
That they just actually stopped.
You know what's going to be really interesting is ISTAT Asia.
Tell me.
We have ISTAT Asia in 3 weeks from now. What's that attendance going to look like? And so you got to start to think nervously, like, okay, I can get there, but can I get back?
That's a good question. Maybe I don't come back.
Don't worry. You hope that the world has a good supply of bunker fuel so you can get a steamship back or something.
Maybe you come to Dubai.
Yeah. Actually, Todd doesn't mind a one-way trip.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So he's fine over there.
That's what I say. Maybe I don't come back.
Exactly.
I work from home. There you go.
There you go.
So what about Aeras and Hanwha Aviation synergies? Where do you see us working together in the future?
Look, for us, like I said, we've got a slightly different model to what you have. And I think we can really work on the unserviceable engines, unserviceable assets that you're looking to exit out of for sure. You're not a parts business, we're a parts business. We're trying to create that full 360 life cycle with our business models. And it's slightly different from what you're doing and what your focus is. I know you've just recently acquired an MRO, which is, I think was a great step. So it'd be great for us to, so that would be a next step for us as well, to look at that opportunity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, listen, there's enough opportunity for all of us. I don't believe in coming in and trying to squash the competition, because a lot of the competition are my friends in many respects, like not just yourselves, but other guys also in the industry. These are people that frankly, we've all grown up together in this industry. We've known each other for like many, many, many years. So it's about how do we find ways to all make money, scratch each other's backs.
And there's enough space in the industry, right? There's enough space in the market, everyone to benefit. So, and it's important for us as well. You know, when we have certain assets, we put X number of assets in one shop, another X amount of assets in another shop. That's important for us. We do need that scale.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah.
And we like to socialize together too, so we'll have lots of opportunities to talk about.
I don't know what you're talking about. Any questions for us?
No, I think, a couple, we'll switch the tables, right?
Yeah.
So how's the whole U.S. operation going? You're setting it up here, and you have a warehouse. Whereabouts is it? It's what in like?
So
West
we're in Hialeah.
That's the right
Hialeah,
where our
Florida.
shop is.
Yeah.
Actually right down the street. I know where you're at.
Yeah.
So not far. And it's we started with 20,000 square foot of warehouse space. We started setting up in, I believe, May of last year, 2025.
Okay.
And we were launched in 3 months. So it's a short time period. I've done this several times.
So this actually
Well,
moved ahead a lot faster than what we had expected.
And what engine
Wow.
material have you stocked in that facility? Has it mainly been CF6, or have you done some
So
CF?
it's the big one is CF6, and we chase the market, like everybody else, but it's what's available at the right price, and that's why you don't see us out there buying a lot of those $4 million cores, because
Makes
totally
sense.
agree with you. There's only so many widgets you could repair and sell or reuse in the marketplace. So definitely we're not chasing those 4 million. But when you look at the wide body market, it's tight as well, but it's more reasonable. It's within the actual valuation, our valuation models. So the CF6, early last year we acquired several, disassembled, got through that investment, or working our way through that investment. Now it's V2500s, several V2500s in either part out stage or closing stage.
There's going to be some opportunity in the V's with a large U.S. carrier.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share that details with you off camera.
Yeah.
But it was something for you to talk
I
about.
think what's been quite nice, I think we sat down over a year ago, and we said, okay, what are we looking to do over the next 5 years, and how do we put that into motion? And I think thus far we've been on target. So long may it continue, touch wood. And so yeah, and I think just the model that what we're trying to bring to the table, what we're trying to bring alive, is starting to take place. And I think we didn't expect, going back to what I said before, we didn't expect to maybe move as quickly as we had, in terms of recruitment, in terms of the warehouse space.
There's ups and downs to
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
You've got a big
also
big
got-
nut every month.
You've also got to remember as well that we had employees already there. We changed the whole
Work structure.
corporate restructuring of the organization. Different change management culture.
When you got the Siamese twins.
And then we got
Victor-
yeah,
Victor
exactly.
and
Yeah.
Todd.
That's it. So it's been but it's been a good journey so far, and long may it continue. So happy with the way things are moving.
It's definitely accelerated beyond my expectations, and Victor joined us, right away. Victor wasn't even supposed to join until July or August, and we accelerated it by 6 months. So that's how fast the warehouse has moved. I mentioned we started with 20,000 square foot. We've recently, just within the last 6 weeks, taken another 25,000, just in preparation. We didn't want to leave.
I think what's important as well is, the first 6 years, 7 years was critical, because you don't want to, you can move a little bit fast. You want to do more. You want to get more business to go in, but you have to have the right things in place. So we tried not to run too quickly. But one thing that we was aware of was the US market, right? We had customers here, but we weren't on ground.
Yeah.
And we needed
Well, you have
people
to
on
have that
ground,
presence.
and you need
It
relationships,
makes
and
a
you
big
need everything, So, I think now was just the right time. It's the right synergy, and it's working.
And the right business plan. We have our Dubai headquarters, and now we have a small warehouse there. We'll be stocking LRUs, QEC to support the region, support
QEC
each companies.
That's an interesting comment, because there aren't too many engine shops in the Middle East. So does that really make sense to stock material there, or is that just more as having a presence there?
No, I think you've got to think strategically now. I think, and I think I think we've spoken about it previously about Africa as well. The UAE is a gateway to Asia and it's a gateway to Africa. And I think the way things are looking to move over the next 5 years, you're looking at the Asia Pacific region that's looking to grow, exponentially. You have Africa, which is changing the way things are set up. I think there's a lot more business taking place there now. So I think strategically being placed there as a hub and having an engine business there, I think it's going to be very good for what we're doing.
To be clear on the warehouse, it's not a 50,000 square foot like we have in Miami. It's small and it's focused on LRUs, QEC, only serviceable parts that we could serve these regions that Dem just mentioned. And then, as our growth strategy is, I go back to Hanwha days when we were buying the CFMs and, right off the aircraft. One thing I'll never forget is you telling me we've got to store these in Dubai. You got to store them in Dubai. I've got plans for the region. And for the life of me, I couldn't find a place to store those engines in Dubai.
I remember that.
And so one of our plans for growth is to start a lease return type engine storage and preservation there in Dubai. So
they're looking to relocate the airport as well, Dubai International to Dubai South. And I think that's going to be an interesting move as well. So I think we're positioning ourselves in Dubai South, get ourselves strategically aligned with the airlines that are flying in and out of there. And I think we're on something.
So traditionally, Dubai and other countries in the Middle East were known as safe, tax-free havens. Now, do you think the recent events have changed that perception? You're seeing on TV drones and missiles landing in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
I think this is always going to happen. I think it's always going to happen. I think, it was always like a ticking time bomb, right? When is it going to happen? But one thing
we don't see mushrooms.
But one thing I will say is that the UAE government have been incredible. I've stayed in the Middle East whilst it's all taking place, and I salute
you
them.
had to. There's no flight.
But you had a lot. I understand that there's families who have gone over to Oman and flown out of Oman because why put yourself in that situation? But I've lived it, and I think the UAE government done it incredibly well. I'm extremely privileged to feel I feel safe. I didn't feel like I'm in Gaza or in Israel where.
I saw your social media.
Where you're
it's up the government.
No, but you know what? Credit where credit's due, and I take my hat off to them for the work they've done. So I feel very proud to be living in UAE and the way they've safeguarded myself and my family. But I think once this is all done and dusted, I think the UAE will be the safest place in the world to live. I really mean that. I think it'd be an extremely safe place to be. And I don't think other places can match it.
Have you considered relocating to UAE? Todd?
He thought about it a few times, yeah.
After that speech, I'm there tomorrow. I'm serious. After that speech, I'm there. Why don't you relocate me?
No, but you wanted to come before as well, right?
I said I would spend more time there.
But it's
not yet.
It's a changing part of the world, and I think now what's going in Asia, then this is going to be a very interesting dynamic over the next 5 years. Yeah. I mean, your company is obviously based out of Vietnam, correct? And
Singapore.
Singapore.
Yeah, our headquarters in Singapore.
So, I think you probably see a lot more of that than we would, so to speak.
Sure.
I mean, how do you see the Asia Pacific market?
Oh, it's massive. The two growth opportunities I see in the industry is Asia Pacific, Southeast Asia in particular, outside of China, and the African continent. African continent is where I really see a big opportunity for the future, because it's between India and the African continent. It reminds me of China in the early 90s. I had a front row seat to watching China develop in the 90s. My father lived there since 92. So, seeing it where you had a population that, started to get access to passports. Yeah. You saw the creation of a middle class with the ability to travel, and that drove.
So here's the interesting thing as well, right? If you're based in South Africa and you want to get to North Africa, typically you have to leave the continent to get back to get to.
You're going
the-
through,
you have to go to Qatar or
through
Dubai.
Dubai.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So then there needs to be a way now of increasing connectivity between North Africa and Southern
We
Africa.
could create a hub in
So-
Kigali,
No,
in the middle of the continent.
but that's why, interestingly enough, Botswana I call it a land-linked country, not a landlocked country, right? That's why it's a great location, right? You can dart to everywhere. You know, Addis Ababa, you can get to Kenya, you can get to all over the continent. So that's one of the things that we're trying to work on now.
You know, I spent a lot of time flying on the African continent when I was younger, and I see the opportunity for the growth. It's what has failed the continent and failed the countries on that continent has been a complete lack of management and the ability
100%.
to manage assets properly and manage fundamental business,
Yeah.
the business. You know?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, by bringing in people to assist with that, you know, back with, you know, with strong capital backing. You know,
I mean, this is one of the
just-
reasons when I came into Air Botswana, they were struggling financially. The airline had been taken advantage of by within the previous previous management, and I had brought in along with the rest of the board, the new chairman of the board, Dane Kondich. He was ex Etihad, ex Air Serbia. I brought him in, and it's important to bring in the outside experience, and
I haven't gotten the call yet. But maybe.
soon, don't worry. But you can see here, it's important for everyone to be pulling in the same direction. That's often not the case in Africa.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That
know?
is true. What's the Air Botswana fleet? Right.
So they have Embraers, 145, E170s,
Okay.
and ATRs,
Okay.
Sensors, yeah.
Where do you see that going?
So look, I think it's important now for Air Botswana to be able to run efficiently, and half the battle has been poor liquidity to be able to pay suppliers.
That's always been the issue, right?
Always been a problem.
And because of that, suppliers, vendors, lessors see it as a massive risk,
Yeah.
and they'll lease to anyone else before
Yeah.
they lease to a massive.
And it's not, like you say, it's not just one country, one airline. They're all going through the same problem, right? So, but it comes down to poor management. We didn't have audited accounts, for the airline for 4 years prior to us coming to play. We're now working with KPMG
No
to
one
put
wanted
those in
to look
place.
under the hood.
There you go. It was
Yeah.
poor management decisions, and one thing that I've sat with the president and discussed is how do we get aligned and how do we make sure that we get the right people in, get the right experience in, to understand how do we start making a change, because he wants to develop the country and connectivity is part of that. If you want to bring investment into the country, you need to have connectivity. You
100%.
don't want to be flying here, then you don't need 2 or 3 routes to be able to get into the country. It's too tough.
Yeah.
So we're now trying to work very closely with with the powers that be.
The key is to create confidence with with the institutional investors.
Mhm.
If you get that, then the door's open.
So that's the thing. I mean, there's many projects. Working with the tourism boards. We're working very closely now with with the the Botswana
I
Development
don't want to see
Corporation.
a Todd on a fly. Let's fly by the Botswana poster.
Okay. So what we're trying to now do, we're trying to interlink with the projects that's going on to bring investment into the country, bring people into the country. We're looking at a World Trade Center into the country now. We're looking at an international financial center for Botswana. So this all requires bringing people into the country, encouraging connectivity. So this is where we're going with this.
Very
So,
exciting.
yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, but
Well, I
it's,
love what you guys have done. I love the business.
But your experience and was always welcome. So
Well, congrats on all the success.
You come see us.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
And let's get
man,
some business done.
Likewise, we're gonna get some deals done, guys.
give us some engines.
Yeah. Need engines.
I'll help you.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
Okay, great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers, Todd.
Thanks,
Thanks, buddy.
So again, thanks, Jeff. In closing, and Dem. I know you're both busy, so that's a good thing. But definitely. Thanks for taking.
We
the
need
time
another
out.
night out in
Well,
Dubai, actually,
I didn't
very
come
soon.
because Todd invited me. I came because I wanted to see Demetrios.
And when I told them that you were on the way, he says, "I'm out of here."
I look forward to seeing you soon.
Cheers, brother. Appreciate it, buddy.